Hey YouTube, this is Zach with Achilles Financial, and today I want to talk about what happened in the Chinese EV market, what I was able to do making some trades, and what I'm going to do going forward. This is largely going to be based off of my strategy that I employed in yesterday's video, and essentially I plan on continuing that going forward. So first and foremost, I want to highlight some of the monstrous growth that we saw with NIO today. The way that I initially got to where you see this kind of $2,000 profit on the left-hand side is I took a $1,700 position on the next week, November 20th call spread or call options. And I actually purchased this option that you see right here that was trading at 163. So you can see the current price if I just held that. However, I had 15 of them. I sold 5 of them at 225. I sold 5 of them at 250, and I sold 5 at 300. So that is largely where this came from. I then immediately took those and I looked at all of the EV stocks today, and what had happened is XPEV or XPENG announced earnings today, and they announced deliveries, and their deliveries skyrocketed. And this is largely what attributed to at one point being over 40% increase today. And as you can see, they went up by 30%, and then they kind of traded sideways for the remainder of the day. So I instantly took my profits, and just like I said yesterday, I purchased 100 shares of XPENG. You can see that right here. You can see my trade price of $36.88. And right now that investment is up 18%. However, I was riding this bull right here, and I sold a covered call. You can see that I sold that covered call for $195. Now, admittedly, what I was looking for here is the potential to have a 15% return going into next week. That 15% is if that option sold at $40, then I would have the difference between these two, and our chart would look like this. So you can see in the left-hand column of what's on the screen right now, $507 as the final profit. So 507 over my initial investment of we'll call it 3,700, is right around 15%. So right now, due to the fact that they skyrocketed over that, the option is higher priced. I do have the capability to roll this option. However, if it expires, I will walk away with essentially $4,300, and I am very much okay with that. So that is XPENG. That is NIO. Well, what did I do with my remaining cash from those gains? I went and I invested in Li, and Li Auto is another Chinese auto manufacturer that is in the electric vehicle space. So as you can see, I have purchased 55 shares with an average price of $27.19. And already that investment has turned around a 33.5%, nearly 34% return. Now, I'm not naive enough to believe that the stock is going to hold this valuation. You can see as it continues to run up after hours. What we're actually seeing is the fact that we've got a cheap stock and people are just throwing money into it. I don't believe we have a ton of institutional investors. However, I do recognize the value in these companies, and I do like the idea of holding 100 shares of both NIO, XPEV, and Li. The reason that I like that is because these options, I don't even want to look at the Li options because we've already seen another $3, $4, $5 run up after hours. Rather, what I'm going to be looking at is if we can consistently make trades on such a volatile stock, as you can see here, even going into December to show that, hey, I'm going to have a $50 or go to $50, which is already going to be another 20% over, or not 20%, or 20% over its current stock price. Someone is willing to pay me $560. So if I were to look at this trade right here, we'll do the 555, as you can see, my max profit is $1,867, and that would be off of that initial investment. So it's pretty crazy in some of the ways you can kind of like gauge this to see, hey, is this worth it? You can do a covered stock option right here where you actually purchase the 100 shares, but you sell that call option. And this is again in the Thinkorswim platform. But these options are just crazy. You can see that this is only going to cost me $3,800 despite the stock is currently valued at $43.61 because again that pricing is so high. But you can see the max profit here, $11.94. Why am I showing this? The short answer is because by purchasing or selling these covered calls on these highly volatile stocks, even these run-ups, we're getting 15%, 20% return just because the stock is shooting up. But as long as it maintains its volatility, you can get anywhere between $150 to as much as $500 every 2 weeks. So all I'm doing, depending on what this sells at and what the stock price finally is at, I'm just going to repurchase the stock and do the exact same strategy. So the key advantage here is I'm going to be using these covered calls to continue purchasing stock options in Li, or rather shares of Li, till I get 100. My next step after that is going to be using the fees from these two to be purchasing NIO. As you can see, NIO has only had a 12% run up today. However, they announce earnings next Tuesday. So we're going to be watching that and making that move here. Why is this so important? Right now, the portfolio value is currently at $7,000. What we can do is if every 2 weeks we can get another $500, this number is going to continue to be incredibly volatile. However, due to the fact that we can get $500 every 2 weeks, we're going to see monumental gains as long as this volatility stays. However, even if the overall volatility dies down, you can even see in a stock like Tesla, which was actually down a little on today, it has some monstrous moving capabilities. So for a stock like Tesla to go up by $8, people are willing to pay you $940. So again, just these big potential movers are going to continue to kind of hold that premium. You have to acknowledge, what is my exit price? So for XPENG, I had an exit price of 15% gain, and it looks like it's probably going to hit that. I won't be opposed if it kind of drops under my range that I had down here. However, we'll see what happens. Again, I'm not going to be offended if it drops, and as long as it shows a profit. But you have to acknowledge, what am I willing to take on this trade? So that's what I'm going to be watching. These are the moves that I'm going to continue to make, and this is how I'm going to continue to play in this EV space. We made a very similar video yesterday, and I recognize that this is going to have a lot of repetitive content, but we saw within 24 hours the strategy working out. So this is what I'm going to continue to do. Let me know in the comments below if you are familiar with covered calls, if you made a lot of money off these Chinese EV stocks, and if you've got the next Tesla in your trading watch list. Let me know. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.